The surprise birthday party she planned for me was just a cover for her weekend away with him. I walked into the living room, expecting the usual, some balloons, maybe a cake, a few of our close friends hanging out, and a glass of wine to celebrate turning another year older. What I didn't expect was the awkward silence when I stepped through the door, or the strange glances that quickly shot between Jenna and my best friend, Mark. I was used to being the center of attention at birthdays, but this wasn't like the usual birthday vibe. There was a tightness in the air, something off that I couldn't quite place. "Surprise," Jenna said with a forced grin, her hands shaking as she held out a glass of champagne. I couldn't help but notice the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. It looked practiced, too rehearsed. I smiled, but it felt like it was glued to my face. Wow, this looks great. I wasn't expecting all this. There were a few scattered friends standing around, most of them avoiding eye contact with me. Mark was the only one who didn't seem so off, but he still seemed like he was trying a little too hard to act casual. Something was wrong. I felt like I'd walked into a room full of strangers instead of my closest friends and family. "Thanks, babe," I said, reaching out to give Jenna a hug, but she pulled back just enough that I could feel the distance between us. I couldn't place it, but something about her felt distant, and in that moment, I couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. I set my keys down and tried to brush it off. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just nerves. It was my party, after all. I shouldn't be so suspicious. Jenna and I had been together for 3 years. Things had been mostly good, and there had been no reason for me to doubt her, right? She planned this whole thing for me. She had to be excited. But then the awkwardness didn't stop. We sat down for dinner, and as soon as the food came out, I realized I had no appetite. Jenna kept fidgeting with her phone under the table, glancing at it like she was waiting for something. I didn't say anything at first, but the more I tried to enjoy the night, the more I started feeling like I was observing this party rather than actually participating in it. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Jenna, are you okay?" I asked, my voice lower than usual, try to keep it light, try not to sound like I was accusing her of anything. Yet I couldn't help it. The words had already left my mouth before I could stop them. She blinked at me, taken off guard for a second, then nodded, still clutching her phone under the table. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just checking on something." "Okay," I said, but it didn't sit right with me. She had this distracted, distant energy that I wasn't used to. Normally, Jenna was the one who loved these kinds of events. She would be the first to make sure everyone was having fun, to keep things lively, but tonight she was a shadow of herself, like she was only half present. The night dragged on. My friends tried their best to make small talk, but it all felt like filler. Every conversation seemed forced. The clinking of glasses, the dull hum of background music, it all felt so hollow. Mark was acting strange, too. Every time I looked over at him, he would quickly look away, almost like he was worried about something. But the thing that really caught my attention was when Jenna got up to take a phone call halfway through the party, stepping into the hallway with her phone pressed tightly against her ear. I couldn't make out the words, but I could tell it wasn't a casual call. Her voice was low, tense, like she was trying to hide something. And the way she kept glancing back toward the living room, toward me, was all too telling. Something was wrong. Something was off, and it didn't make sense. When she finally came back, I didn't say anything. I just watched her as she sat down, eyes a little too wide, her smile a little too tight. She didn't meet my gaze. That was when I knew. I knew that something was up, and I couldn't pretend anymore. The next few hours were a blur of me trying to stay engaged, to be the good host, to smile through the tension, while Jenna kept avoiding me. But by the time the party started winding down, I was done pretending. I needed answers. When everyone else started leaving, I pulled Jenna aside into the kitchen. Mark gave me a quick nod before he slipped out the door, probably glad that I wasn't dragging him into whatever was happening. I could feel my pulse rising, the frustration building in my chest, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Jenna," I said, taking a deep breath. "What's going on? Why are you acting so strange tonight?" She immediately tensed, her eyes darting away, and for a moment I wondered if she was going to lie again. But then she sighed, her shoulders slumping as if the weight of everything had just hit her. "I don't want to do this tonight, Dan," she said quietly. Not like this. It's your birthday and... Don't. I cut in, my voice shaking slightly. Don't tell me you don't want to do this. Because I know something's going on. Something's been off all night, and I need to know what it is. She stood there, biting her lip, hesitating. I could see her mentally preparing herself to say something, but she wasn't ready to let out yet. I felt like I was watching a dam about to break. I'm sorry, she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't want you to find out this way. But I've been planning a weekend away with Jason. I wanted to surprise you with it, but I didn't know how to explain it without you getting upset. Everything in my body froze. Jason. The name hit me like a slap across the face, and I just stared at her, struggling to breathe. Jason? The guy from her work? The guy who I always felt a little uneasy around? The guy who had been so friendly to her, so touchy at office parties? That Jason? I shook my head, my heart pounding. You've been planning a weekend away with him? For my birthday. Jenna's face was pale now, and she couldn't meet my eyes. I know how this looks. I know it's wrong, but I swear it's not what you think. We were just supposed to be going for a quick weekend getaway. I thought maybe we could go back to the cabin we visited last year. Just me and Jason. I felt the room spin. Wait, just you and Jason. I repeated, the words coming out slowly, like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're telling me you've planned a trip with him for the weekend, and it's supposed to be a surprise for me. She nodded, finally looking up at me. I'm sorry. I really wanted to tell you, but I just didn't know how. I didn't want to ruin everything. I took a step back, completely floored. The anger, the confusion, the betrayal, it all hit me at once. I felt sick. My throat tightened, and I couldn't seem to find the words, any words. Are you serious right now? I finally choked out. You thought that planning a weekend getaway with your coworker behind my back would be a good birthday surprise? And you didn't think I'd find out? I didn't want to hurt you, she whispered, her voice breaking. I shook my head, anger rising like a tide. It's too late for that. You've already hurt me. You're lying to my face, and you're hiding this from me. I don't know who you are anymore. She reached out to me, her hand trembling, but I stepped back, the space between us now feeling like an entire universe. Dan, please. I never meant to hurt you. I looked at her, my heart breaking in real time. You don't get to say that. Not after everything. Not after this. I turned away, heading for the door, not knowing where I was going or what I was going to do. I just needed to get out. I needed to get away from her, from the lies, from the heartbreak. Because in that moment, nothing she could say would change what I already knew. Part 2. I didn't know where I was going when I walked out, but I kept walking. My legs carried me through the dark streets, my mind racing 1,000,000 miles a minute. Jason. I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that the guy she had been hiding, who was now clearly not just a coworker, had been the one to plan this whole thing. It wasn't just a weekend trip, it was an escape. And I was the one left behind, made to feel like I was the fool. I walked for hours through neighborhoods I barely recognized, barely noticing the chilly air as it stung my face. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to face her. I didn't want to hear the excuses anymore. I needed space to think. But every time I tried to clear my head, the only thing that came back was her face, pale and full of regret, and the sudden realization that I didn't really know who she was anymore. I finally ended up at the small park near our apartment, a quiet spot by the lake that I used to visit when I needed to think. The old wooden bench was cold beneath me, but I didn't care. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to get my emotions under control. My stomach was in knots, my chest tight, and the anger bubbling inside me was suffocating. But there was something else too, something quieter, something more painful. It was the feeling of betrayal. It wasn't just that she had planned this trip behind my back. It was that she had been lying to me for months, all while I had been trusting her, loving her, and thinking everything was fine. I thought about calling Mark, asking him what he knew, why he hadn't said anything, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I knew he had to have known something. He had to. How could he not? But I didn't want to hear his excuses either. The betrayal was too fresh, too raw. And the idea of dragging him into this mess was just too much. By the time I finally felt like I could breathe again, the sun was starting to rise. I hadn't realized how long I'd been gone. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I saw Jenna's name on the screen. She'd sent me several texts while I was out walking. Dan, please talk to me. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me. I'm here when you're ready to listen. I want to fix this. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, my heart pounding. What did I want from this? What did I want from her? The truth was I didn't know. I didn't know what I needed or what was even possible. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that I couldn't just move on from this, that things were never going to be the same. But I didn't respond. I couldn't. I didn't even want to go back to the apartment, but I knew I had to. I couldn't run forever. While I walked through the door, she was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She looked up as soon as I stepped inside, her eyes red from crying, her face pale. She was trying to act calm, but there was no mistaking the tension in her shoulders, the nervous fidgeting. The whole place felt suffocating. I just wanted to be anywhere but here. Dan, she said softly, standing up and walking toward me. Please, I need you to listen to me. I took a deep breath, shaking my head as I turned away, not wanting to hear it. I felt like I was drowning. I don't know if I can listen anymore, Jenna. I really don't. You've been lying to me for months, and I don't even know who you are anymore. She flinched at the words, and I hated myself for saying them, but the anger was stronger than anything else. She took a step closer, and I immediately took a step back, tried to keep the distance between us. I know, she said, her voice breaking. I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry. But I swear to you, I didn't want any of this. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want it to go this far. I ran my hands through my hair, pacing around the room. How could you do this? How could you lie to me? How could you plan a trip with him? A weekend getaway for my birthday? Are you serious, Jenna? She stood there, looking like she was about to collapse, tears streaming down her face now. I didn't plan it like this. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I thought I could just tell you later, after everything. But I couldn't. I was too scared, Dan. I was scared of losing you. You were scared of losing me. I repeated, my voice rising in disbelief. You think I'm going to forgive you for this? You think I'm just going to forget what you've been doing behind my back? She shook her head, her voice pleading. No, I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I made a mistake. I messed up. But please don't let this ruin everything we've had. I love you. The words stung like they were a weapon now, cutting through everything. I didn't know if I could hear her say that again without feeling like I was suffocating. Because how could she love me and do this? How could she say those words when she'd been with him? I don't even know if I can believe that anymore, I said, my voice hoarse. You've been lying to me. For months. And now you're telling me you love me. She stepped forward again, but I held up my hand, stopping her in her tracks. No. I need space, Jenna. I can't do this right now. She nodded slowly, wiping her face with the sleeve of her shirt. I understand. But please, don't walk away from me. I want to fix this. I want to make things right. But how could I ever trust her again? How could I ever believe anything she said after this? Everything between us felt like it was built on lies. How could I go back to the way things were? I walked past her without another word, grabbing my jacket from the hallway. I wasn't sure where I was going, but I needed out. I needed to get away from her, from the apartment, from the lies. Before I stepped out the door, I turned back one last time. She was standing in the same spot, looking at me with pleading eyes, tears still streaming down her face. She looked so fragile, so broken, but it didn't change the fact that I didn't know who she was anymore. I'll be back later, I said, not even knowing if I meant it. But right now, I need to be alone. And with that, I walked out the door, the weight of everything settling in like a crushing blow. There was so much I didn't know, so much I didn't want to face. But I knew one thing for sure. Things would never be the same again.